I'm seeing us slowly start to get some more attendees. We'll probably give it to, 10:05 or so to get started.
Sure thing. Welcome, Sophie. Welcome, Kara. Hi, Alec. Welcome. Can give it a few more minutes. And the good thing is that this is being recorded, so whoever doesn't make it, we'll just send it over to them.
Absolutely.
Actually, what do you think? It's 10:07. Should we wait till 10:10 or should we get started?
I think we can get started and then sort of as people join, just take it from there.
Sure, no problem.
All right, awesome.
Take it away.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone. Happy Earth Day. We thought this was a great opportunity to sort of talk about the importance and benefits of digitizing your laboratory workflows. So a little bit about eLabNext, formerly BioITech. They were recently acquired by Eppendorf, and they have a comprehensive and flexible lab information management software. So I've spent some time demoing this over the past few weeks and really saw a lot of value for the vast majority of our diverse portfolio companies. So a little bit about what we'll go over today, the permissions and GXP compliance, the eLab inventory module, which covers sample and equipment management, the eLabProtocols, which is sort of your SOP management module, and the eLabJournal, which serves as your electronic lab notebook. And then following the demo, we'll do a quick Kahoot quiz with chances to win Amazon gift cards. And with that, I'll let you guys take it away.
Thanks, Ashley. Jason, do you want to talk about the game before I get started?
I think Ashley touched base on it, but I just wanted to give everyone a heads up that there will be a fun interactive game at the end called Kahoot. We'll ask some questions on the presentation and then a few fun and Earth Day themed questions as well for that opportunity to win the Amazon gift cards. And then everybody attending will receive the Uber Eats card, an Eppendorf pen, and then an eLabNext stylus. So without further ado, I'll pass it off to Z.
Great, thank you. Since we have a more intimate team here on this call, please feel free to interrupt and ask questions during the demo, or you can just put it in the chat and my team members that are in this call will quickly answer them for you, send you links and so on. But so once again, the topic of today is digital sustainability, how to go greener, and via lab digitization. So this will be the main focus of today's presentation with some key features that I think can apply to many labs. So this is the agenda for today. Quick intro to eLabNext, then I will demo eLabNext and its key features. Then we'll have a Q&A, and lastly, we'll play the game and see who the winners are. So the importance of lab digitization, this is becoming a very hot topic more and more, especially during the pandemic. And you might see these 4 keywords being thrown around a lot. These are kind of like the 4 pillars of lab digitization. Security. So you guys are working with a lot of intellectual property. You might be working with data, patient data. So data security is extremely important. Compliance that Ashley was talking about is another word being thrown around, specifically the FDA compliance. Accessibility, this was a big thing during pandemic when people were no longer going to the lab, but still needing to access their data. How was that a problem for those that were not digitized, and how others benefited because they were digitized. And lastly, efficiency. If having Google Docs and Google Sheets, it's still a form of digitization, but is it really efficient? So these are the kind of things that we'll talk about, and then you'll see nuances of these within the features of eLab. A quick background on eLabNext. It started out in Netherlands by 2 scientists who were in the lab, and they went to open their freezer with their samples, and samples were falling off. There were binders upon binders on their legacy data of the lab. Accessing the data was tough. Accessing samples was tough. And they got fed up with that, and they had an IT background, and they just sat in their basement and coded away. And in a very short period of time, they developed the eLab platform, which really took Europe by storm, ended up in the Max Planck Institute as an institution-wide installation, And this is what caught the attention of Eppendorf, eventually resulting in the majority acquisition. And the reason why I tell this story is really to show you that this system was made by scientists for scientists. This was not a third-party tech company that was hired to develop something like this. And I think that's very important to note because they made this to make their workflow more efficient. And now that's our job to do the same for you, is to talk to you, understand your workflow, and try to provide you a solution that will make your workflow more efficient. And in the process, make you more digitally sustainable. But efficiency is not everything if you are not secure. So we are ISO certified. This is the highest standard of data security that you can get on a data management system that's cloud-based. We have about 8 different data centers that are located in different geographical locations. We can tap into your own data centers in case if you are hosting things on Amazon Web Services, let's say. You can also host it on premises. You can host it on other private clouds. So we have a range of these solutions available. And important to note that the data is encrypted in transit and while it's at rest, adding another layer of security. We are GXP compliant. We are FDA compliant. This is all under 21 CFR Part 11, which also makes us HIPAA compliant and GDPR compliant. So whether you're working with medical data or you're working in a nuclear plant, you will abide by these standards if you're using eLabNext. All of this is on our website. Feel free to dig deeper in there or shoot us some questions. So these are the biotech hubs of the world that we're in, and we like to include this slide and throw in some of these names here just to show you that if you are new to the concept of ELN or LIMS, there are still a lot of organizations out there that have committed to go green with eLab. Most notably, some of the ones in this area, I'll mention Harvard Medical School has an institution-wide installation of eLab. Dana-Farber Cancer Institute has an institution-wide installation of eLab. But then also in the pharma and clinical world, Nestle Health Sciences and our neighbors at Flagship Venture Labs that gave birth to Moderna. We have several labs at Flagship Venture Labs that are using eLab. We're in Smart Labs and Lab Central and BioLabs and so on. So really the purpose of this slide is to show you that if these conglomerates have made that commitment to go green with eLab, so can you, and hopefully that makes your decision-making process that much easier and more comfortable. So one of the reasons why eLab has been so successful, and as you can see here, there's eLabNext is the brand, and then eLabJournal, eLabInventory, and eLabProtocols are the products that we provide. And it's important to note that we are not a one-dimensional solution. And what I mean by that is you might find some systems out there that only do labeling, or they only do sample management, or they only do note-taking and then experiment write-ups. We saw this gap in the industry, and we developed the eLab platform that has all of these things built into it that gives you an end-to-end solution from sample management to protocol management, all the way to you creating reports and pulling data from all these other modules into one. And if that's not enough for you, we have an open API and an SDK, which allows you to build more features on top of the core. And we recently released the marketplace, which is kind of like an app store that allows you to look through a bunch of other features that are already built in and install it on top of the core. After some research on the engine, I see that there's a lot of people with AI background and coding and development backgrounds. I think this is heaven for your developers. We are very enthusiastic to work with people like yourself that want to push the limits and create new features within the system. And that's something that we can easily do to tap into your databases, to tap into your robotics, and maybe even tap into another hospital database and be able to push and pull data back and forth. These are things that we have a lot of experience with, and this is what really makes us different in the industry. The fact that we are this configurable and this adaptable to any workflow with an end-to-end solution. Also, you see we have a mobile app available, and I'll show you some of these features later. And last but not least, this is the team that is assigned to the engine in case if any questions come up. So we're local. I'm sure many of you recognize this building here on the top right. That's in Cambridge on Mass Ave. We have offices there, and then we also have these offices in Framingham that is shared with Eppendorf, with Jason and the rest of the team. And we only hire people with a scientific background. Purpose being is that we want to understand what you're doing, and we have the experience of being in the lab and understanding the pain points that you have. And we really serve as consultants in your lab digitization journey. And really just stand by you and helping you to optimize the workflow along the way. So that's about it with this quick intro. I hope that gave you a little bit of more context. So if there are no questions, I will start sharing eLab over here and actually going into the demo. Is there any questions from anyone? Alex, Sophia, Ramich, you guys good?
No questions at the moment.
Okay, great. So here's eLab. So let me log in and we'll get started. So as you can see, this is asking me to put my two-step verification code. And that's something that you can activate to add another layer of security to your account. We can also connect to your Active Directory if needed. And this is my my lab, and it's divided into different sections. So because there are a lot of buttons here on the screen, let me tell you what I will be focusing on, so you know exactly the flow of this presentation. So I will focus on this white tab over here. This is the admin panel for the first 3 minutes. Then I'll go into the inventory, supplies, equipment, and what they will, so that will focus on the physical assets of your lab. Then we'll go into procedures. These are your protocols that you will be making. And then lastly, we'll go into the journal where you'll be able to see how you're able to create the projects, the studies, all the different tasks, and pull data from all of these other modules into it for one comprehensive reporting portal. So without further ado, let me focus here. My name at the top. Everybody has their login credentials, of course. This is not Netflix for you to share your login with others. And the way that this will work is you'll go into your group and create your group. And let's say if you're from BioBot, create your group, name it BioBot Analytics, and then go ahead and manage your members by inviting your colleagues in. So if I want Alec on my team, I just go ahead and invite and put his email in, and then he'll join. Then I'm able to give him a specific role that I have been able to build. So here you see I have some standard roles, but if you would like to create a very specific one in here, maybe you do not have any postdocs, so remove that. And you have an AI specialist in your team, so go ahead and add that person. And now you will be able to give this person either the full range of the features, or say, you know what, this AI specialist keeps on deleting things, so let me go ahead and take these delete features out. Important to know that there are no hard deletes, so do not be scared of the delete button. Everything gets archived, everything is retractable, but there are some ways that you can control who can delete things, who can view things, and so on. And really, the purpose of this is not to micromanage your team or anything like that, but just to have a very clear and very transparent division of responsibilities within your lab. And of course, you can continuously update this as people change, you get new hires, you can continuously update this. But with a small team of 5 people, we usually see everyone getting the same features and permissions. Once you start hitting the 10-person mark, this is when we see people adding a little bit more control over the features. Once you're done, press save, and you're good to go. A few other things in this housekeeping portion of things. Some of the basic stuff, trivial stuff like setting up your language, time zone, time format, date format. The only reason why I'm not saving a breath on this, because it does seem trivial, is the fact that this system is continuously encouraging you to standardize everything that you're doing. And this is really the first attempt of that is, okay, what kind of a date format are we following in the lab? Is 03/04/2019, is that March or April? You no longer will need to ask that question because you know that everyone is following the same naming system, same date format, and so on. So this is a common theme about digital sustainability is standardization and creating a foundation for you to grow into. And we'll talk about that once we see the other features. And the last thing here in this housekeeping portion, I hope I'm not boring you guys, but it's important to go through this setup process, is going into our marketplace and looking at all these additional features that we have on top of the core that I was talking about. So you might need barcode automation because you are a more high throughput lab and you'd like to automate some of the features in the lab. You go ahead and install this additional feature. Maybe you're using the Appendorf rack scan that you got from Jason and you need that linked with eLab. There is a sample lineage and sample parent tracking for some of you that are doing more molecular biology or biobanking. These features will be more important for you. And label printing and so on. So point being is that this marketplace is going to continuously add more and more features in there. We will have a lot of more categories and search capabilities that allows you to keep on adding more features to your account and becoming future proof. And that's another problem about digital sustainability is there's a new product out, people love it, they get it, but then that product is not innovating along the way, and times change, new features develop, other products develop new features while that particular product remains the same, and you are stuck and it's time for you to outgrow that system and you can't. That's not the case with eLabNext because of this marketplace constantly adding more and more features in here and allowing you to expand. So that's about it with this housekeeping portion of things. You log in, you create your group, you add your colleagues, you give them the permissions, install some of these additional features from the marketplace, set up your account, and now you are ready to get started in creating your digital space. So I'll start here in the inventory. So this is a nice little tree diagram of all of my storage locations that I have. And as you can see, everything is customizable, whether it's a freezer or a mouse cage that I have over here. If you're working with live animals, I have a lab that is working with metals, and they have their metals being stored in these rooms. So they have created a storage room. And you also have a list of all of your equipment that you are using. One thing to note is that I have some kind of a naming system in here, a naming convention that allows me to group things together and access things. So to give you an idea, I have my cryo tank here that has a 5x5 sample box. I also have my COVID-19 -80 freezer that I got from Jason. And over here, I am able to see all of my COVID-19 swabs. So what does this mean? This means that all of this is highly customizable. So I'll just quickly show this to you. If you go to storage units and press on add storage unit, we have all of these templates already built into the system and available for you. If you need to custom your location, you can do that too. so now once you are in, once you have created these layers where you store things, then you can start playing with your samples. So in this case, if I go into my COVID-19 swab, and by the way, there are no real samples in here. These are all hypothetical. There is no patient information that's out. Here you get to see I have my patient ID, I have location, test results, and I have my PCR results right here. And you know, anything else that I want to attach, all of these other experiments that this is part of. And this is good set of information that I can filter by and find. If I'm working with, let's say, heat shock protein samples, this has a completely different set of information like molecular weight, the protein chaperone group that it belongs to, the sequence. So the more information that you put in for your sample types, the more arsenal of tools you have to search by and filter by. So if I come into the lab and I need to look up all of my heat shock proteins that belong to the HSP90 group and had the sequence of CVGV, I'll be able to pull that data out, no problem, with just a couple of clicks. So how do we create these sample types? And that's very easy. You go into your sample type over here, and you see I have a very wide range of sample types in here. I have fish samples, I have a fecal swab, I have cannabis flower, I have nasal swabs and polymers and steel. So the point is, whichever sample type that you're working with, you are able to create that very specific sample type for your lab. And I was looking at BioBot at Engine, and that one seemed a fun one to do. So I've created a fecal swab as an option. So for those that don't know, BioBot is doing sewer testing. They take samples from sewers, and they're able to track and trace the epidemiology in the region for COVID, for example, or opioids in that region. With the amazing work that they're doing. So let's say that's the sample that we are working with. And you are now able to create these specific fields that you want to keep track of. And I put some random things in here, environmental conditions. Maybe that's something that you want to keep track of. Maybe there is a nuclear plant in the region, and you want to write that can affect the secretions because of that. I have age. If you're working with patients, you can put the sex of the patient and any medication they might be taking. But if I want to say that, okay, maybe we are taking samples in Massachusetts and from 3 very specific regions, then I can create a drop-down menu, call this my collection site, and maybe we are taking samples in Cambridge, in Boston, and let's say, I forget where Ashley is from, but let's put Somerville. And now, without any IT background, I was able to just create a nice little drop-down menu for myself. And these now become filters for me to search these samples by. Maybe you want to keep track of the collection date. So for this, you will create a collection date. And the good thing about this is that you can continuously optimize this, add more and more fields that you want to keep track of, and you can make them required fields also. When you make it a required field, then your colleagues are prompted to always fill in that information, and really that gives you that digital confidence that the work that you're doing is being saved and created, and allowing you to get back to it 3 years from now, be able to create reports and see, you know, the history of your company and the samples that you've been working with. So any questions about this portion of things, about customizing your sample types? Okay, it's pretty self-explanatory. You can attach images. You can, create radio buttons and checkboxes. Really, this is meant to be very customizable as you are creating these specific sample types. Now, once you're done with this, you can press close and go into any of your locations and create your samples in there. So if I go into my freezer A and go to my sample box 4, press on a location, it opens up the list of all of these sample types that I have created. Now I can find my fecal swab as an option, maybe have a series of 5 of these samples that we took. Proceed. And now you see I'm prompted to fill in this information that I have already set up. So I'll make this very basic. So I'll call this my biobot 001. Maybe I can put a quantity to these. Again, I'm putting a bunch of random things in here. This might not make any sense, but you get the idea that what you're able to do in the system here. Collection site, let's say Cambridge, collection date today. And now save and close. Now we got our samples in here. And when I access the sample, I can do a bunch of different things to it through these buttons here. And you see the specifications now become searchable specifications. So I can print labels directly from here, and then we have built-in label making system. You don't have to have a separate software for that. You can customize this directly in here. If you are prepping for a presentation, if you need to send something to a CRO or to a collaborator, you can quickly create a PDF report on any of your samples with all of its information and send it over. You can clone samples. So if you are making aliquots, you can do that directly in here. Let's say I'm making 4 of these and I want to track the parent in the process. Now what that will do is when I access this and press this lineage button here, I'll be able to see exactly where it came from. And you can have a bunch of different sample types have this parent-daughter relationship in the system. And I'll show you some more features on that. You can move samples around. Here you see I moved it from here to here. I can quantify it. Let me take out 0.3 mils just to show you. The math gets done for you automatically. And the reason why I'm just going through all of these buttons, their names are pretty self-explanatory, but I really want to go through these just so I can show you that as you do these things, everything gets logged in the system. From the birth of the sample all the way to us changing location, changing quantity, all of that is being tracked and continuously gives you that confidence in the data that you're collecting and knowing that you can always access it wherever you are. And as I said before, there are no hard deletes in the system. If I have deleted this by accident, it will be in the sample archive that I'll be able to access. And so here, if I see this, I'll have this nice red outline around it, symbolizing its deletion. And in case if I made a mistake, no problem, I can just restore it back to its original location. So the next logical question is, okay, I've been working with eLab for a year. We've uploaded thousands of samples in here. How do we access it? How do we find it? And what are the search capabilities? So to give you guys an idea, since Engine labs are mostly startups, in the industry, you would not be considered a high throughput lab just yet. But we have labs that are working with 10,000 samples a day. We recently onboarded a lab and imported 200,000 samples into their account. So the system can handle this. And to the AI analysts in the call or that would be listening in, I know that metadata is king, and you're now thinking of the ways that you'll be able to create trends on all of this data that you create. And the system is really prepped for that. It's created, it's primed for that. So some of the search capabilities, some of the most basic ones is searching by any keyword in here. So if I put Cambridge in here, which was the location collection site that we had set, now it will bring up these samples. I can search by users. If you're a lab of 5 people, there will be 5 members in here, by sample type, by storage unit. And if this is not enough for you, then you would go into the advanced search and really be able to pinpoint very specific samples and their specific fields in a conditional manner. So for example, here, if I'm only looking for my fecal swabs, I'll collect that. And then I want to see the collection site only. I add the condition. And now I'm able to choose that option for me to search by. Needless to say, you can add all kinds of conditions in here along with these with toggle multi-line search. Now press search. And now I get these samples and I can do all kinds of manipulations to these samples directly from here. I can export the results into CSV and I can also save this search, which is a nice little feature, which then allows you to have this one-click search moving forward. So you're not constantly making these conditions every single time. Now, if I go into my search list, you see that I have a search for all of my positive COVID-19 samples, and I will see the most recent one here at the top. If I go to my BioBot search, I'll be able to get those, the most recent one here at the top. So to the AI folks in here or the developers, let me show you our API because it's very much related to this. So if you go into our API documentation, you'll see our RESTful API with all of the metadata of the samples that you'll be able to push and pull and be able to have fun with it. So if there's any questions about this, Ethan in the chat will be able to help you with that. So now, in a way, this concludes the immediate sample management features. Any questions before I move on into some of the other modules? Sophia, Ramesh, Alec, how are we doing?
Doing good on my end.
Good. Good. Oh, we got some new people in there too. Jessica. Hey, Michael. Good to see you. Okay, good. So now, now that we have created our storage units and our samples, the next physical thing that we'd like to create is our equipment. So you see, I have some kind of a naming system in here that allows me to grow into the system. And if I go into my equipment, I can just add a new piece of equipment and put the name, put the type, and then again, define the fields that I want to keep track of for this piece of equipment, just like the samples. So now you're seeing that there's a common theme of customizations that you can do in eLab with location, where it's located. You know, working in an incubator space, there might be some shared equipment, things get moved around. These are things that are very helpful to keep track of for you to access. So here I have, let's say, a centrifuge. Probably most of you have it. So let's go into our 5920R. And the things that I have in here that I'm keeping track of is the manufacturer, the manual, serial number, model number, cleaning protocol, and the technician contact, just to give you an idea of the kind of things that you can keep track of. And you can do your reservations, which will go into the log of the equipment. So you'll know exactly which project it's being used for. And the other very common feature that people use is this validation feature, the calibration feature, where you can go ahead and say, okay, I have calibrated this piece of equipment today, and I would like to have another calibration, let's say 3 months from now. And you can attach that calibration file directly in here and save. And now you are building this history of your equipment, of how many times it got calibrated, who did it, who was the technician that worked on it, and really allows you to be proactive about setting up these calibrations. I know from my experience when I was doing research, our HPLC was always late with the calibrations, and there was a period that we just simply did not trust the data that was coming from it. With this feature, that won't be the case, where you'll be able to go into here and look up all of your equipment that's due for an expiration, find those that are there, and you can see I've been lazy. I have 4 that are still in 2019 that haven't been calibrated. Well, now it's time for me to call the techs to come in and calibrate these pieces of equipment. And needless to say, you can create reservations on your storage units. So if you're sharing a freezer and 2 shelves are for one person and 2 for other, you are able to create these reservations and also add this naming system in there that will allow you to differentiate as to which region belongs to whom. So I see that there are some questions going in there. Can you tie the equipment scheduling to other calendars? No, you cannot. Off the shelf, you cannot. But with our API, I'm sure there are ways to do that, Jessica. That's something that we can look into. I see there's questions about the mobile app. Yes, available for iPhone and Android. And as a matter of fact, since we're talking about equipment, you can actually reserve your equipment with this QR code. So all of the samples create their QR codes. All of your storage units have their own QR codes, including the equipment. So you can just go there, use your mobile app, scan it, and reserve it right there on the spot if you forgot to do it over here, which is a nice little way to access it. I mean, I know in a lot of labs, people put the business card of the technician on there, and then they also have a tape that has the name of the equipment. I mean, these are things that can easily get ruined. You can get a label that is resistant to chemicals and reagents and things like that, have all of its information embedded within the QR code, and you just stick that on all of your equipment, allowing you to access it, move it. You can scan a sample with your mobile app and then move it into the equipment to symbolize that this sample was used in this equipment at this time by this person. That might be an overkill for you guys, but just important to note that these features do exist, you know, you can be as high tech as you'd like to be in here. So with that said, the next feature that I wanted to show you is the supply management. And this is the things that you guys need to order for your lab. I know that some of the things are shared with the engine, others you personally are ordering for your particular lab. So if you have these things, you know, your chemicals, your reagents, your consumables, maybe you need to get some Eppendorf pipettes, pipette tips, you can add all of these things in there. And when things are running low, your colleague can come in here and say, you know what, I'd like to purchase a few of these. Let's get 3 of these. And now this will be added to your pending orders. And then this will go through this Kanban workflow from pending to order to receive to completed. And you just start building your business information about the number of orders you've done throughout the year, and you can pull this report out and then export these things out. The system does not order for you. That's important to note. It just keeps track of your orders. But with this export feature, and maybe some of you guys are developers, you can easily sync it with whatever ordering system that you're using and automate that process of ordering, keeping it track in here, press that order button here with the SDK that you develop, and then it will order through whichever procurement system that you use. But this is the most simple way of using this feature. There is a way for you to actually link your supplies with your actual inventory. So, you know, maybe for gloves, you don't need to do that, but things that are more expensive, I know you know, antibodies are very expensive. So if there are things that you want to keep track of in the inventory and automate the process of ordering, you can do that. So here I have created this hypothetical location where my shelf is, and I have 10 bottles that I can keep in here. I want to press on location 2, and instead of fecal swab, I'll use my supply as a sample type. And let's say we're working with a Ripple buffer, and I get this buffer in, and I know that these come with 250 ml bottles. I can put a threshold on this and say that, okay, when I'm at 250 mils, this is considered full. But when I'm down to 50%, please notify the sample owner, but also add it to the shopping list. And now this will say, okay, we can do this. Can you please link it to whichever product that you were talking about? So now this is another layer of standardization where you are picking and choosing exactly what you want to be ordered. So the person that's in charge of ordering is not ordering a different brand, a different concentration that can cause some inaccuracies in the work that you're doing. So here I'll select this, I'll pick this. And again, this is that sample type that I have pre-configured. For you, this might look very different, but some things that I've seen people do is also put the project ID or the project number in here, because maybe at every quarter you want to run a report on how much money is being spent on project 1 versus on project 2. You'll be able to see all of the reagents that you're buying for it and so on. So there is a little bit of asset management and business management features that you can utilize in here, even though you know, it's up to you what you do with this. This is highly configurable, and you know, sky's the limit, really. So here, once I have added this, I have it in here. And in case if you guys are wondering, you can set the thresholds on series as well. So if you got bottles of Ripple buffer and you wanted to notify you once you're down to 1 bottle, you can do that too. In this case, for the sake of this demo, I will just use individual bottle, and I'll use the @ So you see here, we're at 250 mils. This is the QR code. You can imagine that this QR code will be printed and it will be on the bottle. And I can scan. Now I get my mobile app showing me what the sample is, who created it, the quantity. And now I can go ahead and take out, let's say 50 mils. Now when I refresh, I see that it's down to 200 mils. So the math gets done for you. It's automatically in the log. Now somebody else goes in and takes out 100 mils out. When they do this, you see I get a notification on my phone that, hey, it's been, somebody has used this and now it's below the threshold, and it's been added to the shopping list. So now if I go to my pending orders, I'll be able to see it right here. You get a notification at the bottom, and now it can go through the process of this Kanban workflow from left to right that, okay, you know what? I actually just ordered this, and now I'll get another notification that this has been ordered. You get a notification right here. So you create this bi-directional communication between your colleagues, and you have your finger on the pulse of the lab, and you know exactly where things are, where they're going, at what stage they're in, especially now during COVID with a lot of back orders. You won't have to bother your colleagues with, you know, where is the stuff, where did you put it? Everything will be right there, transparent, open for you to access. When I was doing research, we had cases where things would come in and people just would put them under their bench for a day that they might need it. And that caused a lot of double ordering and a lot of wasteful media, a lot of wasteful, really just spending a lot of money that we didn't need to spend. And with this feature, you'll be able to optimize that workflow. Now, you cannot ask your colleagues to, you know, update that they used 1 ml out of a 2-liter ethanol bottle. So that's a behavioral discussion to have internally, like at what point do we want to update the supplies and at what point we do not want to update the supplies. And you can actually create levels of automation in here. And this is that barcode automation feature that I was talking about, where you can have multiple steps embedded within one barcode. So for example, if I want a particular sample type to say, let's say received, I'm picking a bunch of random things in here, so don't mind it if it doesn't make any sense. But you will have all of your sample types in here. So if I want to change the status to tested, and then I would like to change the quantity and subtract 10 mils. And lastly, I would like to remove the current sample. Now I've basically created a barcode that can do all these 4 actions automatically. So what we see people do is they have a board like this, and they'll put all of the most commonly used barcodes on there next to their workstations. So they scan the sample and then they scan the barcode, and then all these features with a full audit trail, all these things get embedded into the system right away. So as you become more high throughput, these are the kind of features that you can use, and you can do multiple samples at a time, or just one sample with multiple steps embedded in there. So any questions up until this point before I move on to the next features? Let me see. Jessica, can you tie the equipment scheduling to an account? Does this supply capability work with Zagino? I don't know what Zagino is. We'll look into that and see what that is.
They're essentially sort of like a life science marketplace. It's what we use for laboratory purchasing here. So per our biosafety permit, sort of all biological material has to be approved by the biosafety officer. So how we handle that is scientists will put their orders in, I approve it, and then Zagino sort of places the order on our behalf.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Ethan, would you mind, while I'm giving the demo, can you look into their website and see if they have an open API? And hopefully by the end of this demo, we'll have an answer for you.
Z, I just wanted to mention, as you were presenting, some kind of real life examples came up that I actually, 2 of them were actually this week. When you were talking about equipment management, being an Eppendorf rep in the Cambridge area, I work with a lot of very established institutions that have been here for a while. Then I also work with a lot of startup companies in the area. And most recently I had an established institution that had pieces of our equipment that are about 10 years old. And they were trying to, figure out how much they've invested in the past 10 years with, regular PMs, preventative maintenances, stuff like that. And I'm watching this presentation right now and I'm thinking, obviously, this extent of digitalizing the lab wasn't probably there 10 years ago, but something like this for a startup to start these behaviors will pay off huge, down the line when you need to make the decision of either replacing a piece of equipment or a big investment in like changing out a board or something that might be like very costly. You can really make an educated decision looking at the history of the equipment and all the PMs that you've purchased or replacement parts that you've purchased in the past. I really like the equipment management tool on here.
That's a very good point. I mean, I've seen labs that create a section for issues that they have for different equipment. And then that's another filter for you to search by and know that, okay, hey, this HPLC, the pump one has been broken. So, okay, let's be more cautious of that. So yeah, it really, whichever the pain points are of a lab, whether it's the monetary aspect of their equipment or the functionality features that they want to keep track of, these are things that you can just customize and keep track of. So yeah, I'm sure that lab that you're talking about would have would have loved to have this feature. These are things that you can also do, like set up the status to unavailable, and then say, okay, it's in repair or it's decommissioned, or so people are not going there trying to use a system that is going to give them bad result. And you don't have to waste sticky notes that it's broken and put it on the equipment either. You can just do it in here directly.
Yeah. And then the other thing I would say is, a lot of times, sometimes the equipment might have a longer life in the lab than an employee, right? Lab ops or somebody that might have been involved in some of the repairs that happened, 8-10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Having it documented just helps put the pieces together when you're going to make those decisions. So,
right.
It was a call I had, I think yesterday or the day before, and I'm just thinking, wow, wish we had that history, because everybody's kind of going off he says, she says, and we're trying to put the together, and something like this would have been key then.
Right. Great. Yeah. So this concludes the physical asset management of eLab. So when I say asset, I don't just mean the business side of things, but all of your intellectual property that goes into all of these samples, whether it's a piece of steel or a sewer sample. You create all this data with all of its metadata embedded, allowing you to run reports, access the data, find the information, and be able to pull that information now into our protocols and into our journals. So now I'll go into the procedure. I'll spend 3 to 5 minutes in here. Then I'll go into the journal and spend about 10 minutes in there. And we'll open up for Q&A and the quiz. So this procedure section is very neat. I think any startup that is listening in right now, you most likely have series of standard protocols that is the same for everyone and everybody's using it. And then you also have protocols that you are figuring out as you go along, and it goes through a lot of versions. So if that's the case, maybe you have your PCR analysis flow on what needs to be done, how to do it, the prepping, the setup, how to execute the procedure, and so on. For another one, let's say you have this pixel sorting multicolor flow over here. You can have your introduction, your steps, the equipment that you want to use. So, for the new hire that's coming in, doesn't have to go around asking everyone how things need to be done, which equipment are we using. All of this can be right there in front of them. And if you are adding more steps in here, you can do that. So if I want to say that, make sure to have fun as for step 4 over here. Now it's in draft mode. As soon as I finalize this, I will see that now it's going through a version 6 to version 7, and I get to see this history that I am building with all of these changes that I'm doing to my protocols. So these protocols are very extensive. You can actually set up dynamic fields in there and calculations. So for example, this one here, if I go from 100 to 250, you see the math gets done for you automatically. So some of the more basic, calculations you can do in here, and continuously add more steps and edit and optimize your protocols. You see this one is on version 20. Others are newer, and you get to see the views, how many people are actually using it. And it's divided into 2 sections, my procedures and group. So we know that in a lab, you might have your own procedures that you're working through, and you're trying to optimize it before you share with the rest of your colleagues. Once it's ready to be shared, you see this one has little human emojis. This one is locked. As soon as you click on this and you share it with the rest of your group, then your colleagues will be able to utilize and optimize it further according to the permissions that I was showing you in the beginning that you might have. So you also can do ratings, internal ratings on these protocols. You see, if I go at the very bottom here, there is a comment section where you'll be able to discuss protocols and continuously make them better. And now you see that up until this point, we've been creating all these different means of creating a report. So these are all templates that we're creating. It's not like you are running this right now live in this section. You are just creating the template of these procedures, which brings us here into the journal, where we're able to create our project management layout. So for example, here I have the Z-Lab. Within here, I have my BioBot analytics. And then I have my, I misspelled it, as you can see, it's supposed to be COVID, my COVID-19 reports. I have my opioid reports. Maybe for Boston Metal, I have my steel analysis, and for my ferroalloys, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And now for my, let's say, opioid report, or if I want to create a new one, I can just simply create a new report in here, define my collaborators, and work through it. So to all the startups listening in, it's completely up to you what kind of a naming system that you follow in here. I just tried to create few just to show you that, again, the sky's the limit. I thought maybe for BioBot, they do their reports based on region. So that's how I did it. For Boston Metal, I assumed that they have one set of projects for the work that they do on steel, another set of studies that they do on ferroalloys. But really the sky's the limit here. I have Genetics 101, and they do by topic. I have labs that they do by the CROs that they work with, the client names that they work with, or the grant numbers that they get. So completely up to you what kind of a layout that you create. The point here is that there are 3 layers: projects, studies, and reports. And now in here, I can go ahead and add, I have created this new experiment, and I put my introduction in here, which is just a text intro. I have all of this information that's embedded in here. And of course, these are all things that are searchable as well. So the more data that you put in here, in a better place you will be in the future to search things by keywords and key ID identifiers. But here I can go ahead and add another section for, let's say, the procedure that I used for this. So now this is that feature that I was talking about, that I can now pull information from all these other modules that we just went through. So I want to pull up my a protocol that I used for this, and I go ahead and I find my PCR analysis, say, yep, this is the one, insert procedure template. But in this particular report that I'm doing, I've actually noticed that I didn't add 50 mils. I added actually 53 or whatever it was, microliters. And now I can go ahead and update this. So you don't have to rewrite your whole protocol in here. You already created a template. You're just pulling it into your report and then making the minor edits to it. And again, this is a common theme in the whole eLabNext platform, allowing you to create templates out of everything to minimize the time that you spend in front of the computer punching numbers in and punching data in. So here, let me scroll down, add another section, and now I would like to add the samples that I'm working with. And now I get to say add samples, and now it opens up my inventory that we spent the first half of the introduction. So now I can go ahead and find those BioBot samples, pull these directly into this. And now I can manage the samples directly from here. And the good thing is that I can also open this in a different window and access the samples and do all kinds of changes to these samples in another window, and they will be forever linked with one another. So even if these samples get removed and discarded, even if this experiment gets signed and delivered, you would still, this connection between these samples and this experiment will forever remain in the system as part of your intellectual property. So that's another key component of digital sustainability, is building this network of information and then being able to access it, parse it, search it in long term. So here in this sample, well, actually, no, let me go ahead and add some more things in here. You can have Excel. We know scientists love their Excel, so we don't want to take that away from you. We instead bring it to you. This is embedded right into your reports. You can use the web version here, or you can just attach it as an attachment. Let's see what else we got here. We have a section for chemical drawing. So I know that we have some chemists at the engine. So if you would like to draw your chemical reactions in here, you can do that. Please excuse me, I'm not a chemist, so I have no idea what I'm drawing here. But you can, this is fully embedded in the system. Let's see what else I can show you. Images, files, and you see that this customization window was the same for your equipment. It was the same for your samples. It was the same for the protocols. This is a very common template-driven system that once you get the hang of it, after playing around in here for a couple of hours, the rest is really smooth sailing. Now, the question here is that, okay, I need to create these reports on daily basis or a weekly basis. And I don't feel like going through this whole process and adding these sections one by one every time because it's pretty standard for our lab. Well, that's no problem at all, because you can go into your experiment templates and create all kinds of templates for you to create these reports by. And you see I have all these general templates that I have created. One of them is super general, where you can just actually give directions to your colleagues on what to do. Like, hey, please write 2 to 3 sentences of the purpose of this experiment, et cetera, et cetera. Please put in 3 bullet forms and explain the purpose of this experiment. And you just put the general skeleton of the report that you want to create, and then you leave it to your scientists to customize this even further when they're pulling the report. But here, if I go into my experiment browser and add a new experiment, now instead of adding a blank one, I'll just simply pull from a template. And now I have, all these different templates that I was just showing you. And let's say we are working with proteins, and I will call this protein report 001. And now it's added. And now you see that the introduction is already there. The purpose is already there. My samples, most likely I need to remove them from this. My PCR analysis is in here. So, also my Excel with all of its, let's say, calculations is in there. Now, all I have to do is just go ahead and change some of the things without altering the template. And now I've saved a lot of time in this reporting. And now once I'm done with this and I'm ready to submit, I press on the, maybe I complete it first before signing off because I'm not ready to sign off on it yet. When you do complete, it's just a status change and you can still come back and make your edits. So if I do this, I will have a nice little history tracking showing me what I have edited in here. So every single section will have its own history over here that you'll be able to track, and the overall experiment will have its log as well. So everything is being audit trailed in the system. So I'm not ready to sign off on this just yet because I want to go to my timeline and see what else is going on. This is a great tool for you to search by because you can say that, all right, I'm looking for everything that Z has been uploading, and apologies, I didn't introduce myself in the beginning. Everybody calls me Z, so I go by that. So here, if I want to look up everything that Z has been uploading in the month of April for comments, I see that there has only been 2, but for, let's say, text paragraphs, I've actually added 9. And you start building this history of your lab, and maybe you look into 2019 and say, okay, why is it that in this time it was not much going on, or in 2020 when things were shut down in March and April, there were less samples being added, but there were much more protocols and experiments being generated. Well, that's because people were not getting samples, they were working from home, and they were optimizing their protocols. So there's a lot of deductions and conclusions that you can make from this timeline, even though the purpose of the timeline is to just really find the most recent stuff and be able to access it very quickly with these keywords that you can search by and these sections that you can search by. You can also search by projects, by studies, and of course by experiments. And really, this is a great search tool where you have these additional filters available between your users, the projects, the study, the status that it's in, the due date that it's in. So you can really encourage efficiency in the lab by setting up due dates. And if you're an admin, you will be able to see everybody else's work that's going on. And now for these protein report, now I can access this. And before I submit, I realized that I missed something. So maybe I'm walking around in the lab and I don't have my laptop with me. What I can do is dictate my notes into my phone and it will translate into text. And now this will appear directly here, over here. And now I can push this directly to this experiment. So with the mobile app, you can upload images as well. You can sync your instruments to spit out the data in CSV format or whichever format and upload it directly into eLab. So there's a lot of these features that automate things, and features that allow you to just access your data or upload data on the go with the mobile app. So now once I'm done with this and I feel good about my report, now I can go ahead and sign, and I'll send it to, I'll send it to Alicia as a witness and sign the experiment. Now, as soon as I do this, this gets locked. I can no longer make edits to this experiment, and Alicia will get it and then be able to either approve or decline. So you see it says pending witness signature. So Alicia, if you could decline the first time around and write a reason why you're declining. You can say it's because of my haircut. I won't be ashamed. But here in the dashboard, this is what she will be able to see. In the dashboard, you get to see all of your, oh, here, experiment has been declined. So this is what she would, it comes here in the declined witness signature portal. Then I also see all the requested witness signatures that people have sent my way. So Carl has sent me something. So this is what Alicia basically did. She received it and then she declined it by writing a reason why she's declining or just witnessing it. So now let's look into the one that she declined. She's saying, please check spelling. And of course, you can have, comments on these sections too, where now we can, add a comment in here and say, hey, Alicia, and, how are you? But at any case, you can have discussions here in all of these sections to continuously optimize your reports before you sign off a second time around. And now I'll sign again, send it to Alicia once again. And now she can approve. That's pretty much it. I want to give us enough time to ask questions and play the game. So I'll shut up now and see what questions are coming up. But just to recap everything, what we basically did is we created our inventory, our storage units, our samples. our equipment, and our supplies. Then from there, we went into our procedures and created the protocols needed to utilize our storage units, our equipment, supplies, and so on. And then lastly, we went into our journal and created our projects and studies and reports and pulled the information from all these other modules into this one comprehensive reporting tool with full audit trail as to who did what, when, and kind of just gave it to you in this view to easily access. And that in a way is the summary of the system. So let me open up the chat and see what questions are there. Yep, you're welcome.
Yeah, it looks like we actually ended up losing a few people right around 11 who had to.
Oh, no problem. No problem. No problem. Alec, do you have Alec and Kara? Looks like you guys are remaining. Any questions?
No questions from me.
Okay, good. So sticking around for the game. Kara, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, good. So let me stop sharing and Jason, take it away.
Yeah, game time. Here we go. Let's see. All right, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right, so this is Kahoot. So if everyone can log into www.kahoot.it, you can do this from your cell phone, or you can do this in another window on your browser.
To the eLab team, no cheating. You guys know some of the answers.
When you sign in, you're going to be prompted to input a game pin. So that's when you type in this pin right here. And then it'll say to use a nickname. You can just use your full name. That way we know who to award at the end.
Good.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start it. Here we go. You have 20 seconds for each question.
Here we go.
All right, first one's true or false.
You're also being tracked on how fast you answer the question too.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you're scored on, how many questions you get correct, and then the speed of getting them correct as well.
Ooh,
all right,
everyone
great.
Got it right.
Z, you're an excellent teacher. Look at that. All right, and then after each round, or each question, we'll see the rankings. All right, Ashley was super quick, so she's number 1.
Fair, I knew the answer.
All right, we got 6 got it right, 1 wrong, and I think we might have missed one, but whoever got it wrong, you might have a chance to redeem yourself on that one after. So, all right, Ashley's still in the lead.
Gotta love the Kahoot music.
All right.
Kara is on fire.
Yep, she's catching up. Ashley's maintaining the lead.
Ooh.
I'll skip this one. This is my question.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah, some good guesses there, I think.
Ooh, Alec to the top.
Oh,
A close race.
Nice. All right. There we go. All right.
4 more. I'm so far behind, I don't even come up in the top 5.
Nice. Everyone got that one right. All right, let's see where we're at here. All right, Kara, nice lead. Alec, Ashley, Jim, Carl. On fire, though. Keep an eye out for Carl. Oh, split there. The ocean does provide most of the world's breathable air.
Wow.
I think the rainforest is second to the ocean only. Right. All right. Going into the last question here. Alec on fire. All right. I think the next one might be double points. Yeah. All right.
Ooh. Oh, Jesus.
This is a great question.
I had to keep this one. All right, let's see how it ends.
hey.
Third place.
Alec.
Nice. Jim in second.
Yeah.
First place. Kara, congrats.
This is so exciting.
Confetti is really great, isn't it? Awesome. Thanks for playing, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys. So what were the prizes, Jason?
Yep, so it's $75. Hold on, let me try to mute this music.
Why not keep it? It's fun.
Yeah. Can't think with it. So a $75 gift card for first place, $50 gift card for second place, and third place a $25 Amazon gift card. So we will be following up to send those out shortly.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you for
Thank
participating.
you, guys.
Questions? Any last minute questions at all or comments?
No questions on my end. It was a great event, though. I appreciate it.
Just a question. I think you may have answered this already, but for those that had to hop off at 11, is this going to be recorded for them?
Yes, so I was recording, and I can share that with anyone who couldn't make it or who left early. And I can also share it in my weekly email as well.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you, guys. Ashley, thank you so much.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of Earth Day.
Thank you. Happy
You too, guys. Happy Earth Day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Bye, everyone.